Today is July 1st, 2025, and for this entire month, I'm going to try to live on less than $1,500. Now, just for a little context, that is about 1/4 of the cost of living in the area that I live in. The cost of living is about $6,000 per month, but I think it's possible to spend a lot less than that, and in this video I'm going to try to prove it. And if I don't succeed, then here's what I'm going to do. If I don't live on less than $1,500 for the next month, then I will give $1,500 to a charity that y'all will be able to vote on. And I truly do not know whether I'm going to succeed in this challenge because I actually just moved to this area about 2 weeks ago, so I haven't figured out what my expenses are actually going to be. And even worse, I've already spent half of that money. And that's because yesterday I had to pay my rent, which is $750. And so that means I only have $750 left to cover all of my other expenses. That's clothing, that's food, that's transportation, that's a gym membership, that's everything else I want to buy, including all my expenses for this YouTube channel. So I know this is going to be a real challenge, but it's also really important to me. So let me zoom out for a second and explain why I'm even doing this challenge in the first place. When I started documenting my journey to financial freedom by the time I turned 30 years old, my goal was to inspire more people to pursue their financial goals. But there are so many people who are still under this myth that they don't earn enough money to achieve their goals. And this makes sense because it's what pretty much every single financial guru will tell you. But if your goal is to become financially free and have control over your time and live the life that you want to, then you probably already earn enough money. What most people really struggle with is controlling their expenses. So my real goal is that by doing this challenge, I can show people that being frugal isn't nearly as hard as they might think it is. So let me talk about the actual strategies that I'm going to use this month to spend less than $1,500. And we've already talked about my rent payment, so let's start there. As I mentioned, I pay $750 for rent in this place, and that includes utilities. And for this area, that is extremely low. Generally, even a single bedroom apartment in a complex like this will go for over $2,000 a month. And you don't have to just take my word for it. I looked it up, and apartments in this building are going for over $2,300 a month for a single bedroom apartment. And even if you want to live with roommates in a building like this, you still will end up spending a lot of money because 2-bedroom apartments in this building are going for over $3,000 a month. So even if you split that with one other person, you're still paying $1,500 a month. Since I'm trying to spend less than $1,500 a month for the entire month, everything included, then spending $1,500 a month just on rent would obviously not work. So how am I managing to spend literally less than half as much money as most people in this area? Well, the difference is that instead of living in a brand new apartment building that costs $3,000 a month, I decided I would much rather live in a cute little neighborhood, in a cute little house, and share that with multiple roommates to keep my rent super, super low. This is kind of crazy to me because I have this huge porch, I have this huge yard, I have all of these trees and all of this space. So I have a ton of stuff that a lot of people don't have who are paying way more money than me. And sure, I also share this space with other people, but it also means I have way more space. So the whole main floor, the whole kitchen, it's all larger than you would get in an apartment that you would rent on your own, that you would have to pay 2 to 3 times as much money to have. And the way I think about it is I've never not lived with roommates. I mean, when I was growing up, I lived with my 2 siblings, I lived with my parents, and then when I moved out, I went to college, and I was living in a dorm room with like 30 other people where we all shared bathrooms. A roommate in college meant you slept in the same room together. So when I graduated college, it just seemed pretty natural to keep doing the same thing. Except now I have my own room and I have way more space and I have my own bathroom that I can use. So it just seems absolutely crazy to pay so much more money just so nobody else can use the living room or use the kitchen when I'm probably am not using it anyways. In my experience living with roommates, there's very little overlap in those shared spaces anyways. It's just so much savings for basically no downside. And I'm in the smallest room in the house, but it's still big enough to fit my very large bed, my desk, and all of my clothes. So there's nothing to really complain about, except there are a couple of squeaky spots on the floor. And there's also tons of closets throughout the house where I can keep anything else I need, but I actually like living in a smaller space. That helps me avoid getting more and more stuff stuff and more clutter that I don't really need. Living in a smaller space makes me way more intentional about all of the things that I own. And a mindset that I found really helpful is that not needing something is just as good as already having it. The less you need to be happy, the easier it is to be happy. So a simple life is often a happier life. But even so, the $750 that I pay for this apartment is still half of the total allowance I've given myself for this monthly challenge. So I'll check back in next week and we'll see how I'm doing. Okay, so we're now 1 week into the challenge. I want to walk you through the expenses that I've had this past week, kind of see where I'm on track, see what I spend my money on. And to do this, I'm going to share my screen and show you the budget tracker that I actually use. So this is it. You can actually download this in the description if you like it. I just like having my own spreadsheet so I actually take the time and write down all of my expenses, just because I feel like it makes me way more aware of what I actually spend my money on in a way that I wouldn't if it was just all routed through a budget tracking app, or even worse, if you didn't look at your expenses at all. So I've made just a copy of this template so I can use it for just this month, but I have another spreadsheet that keeps my whole year's worth of expenses. And you can see at the top here that so far, just 1 week in, I've already spent almost $953 so far. So we're already 64% of the way to my total spending challenge goal of under $1,500 for the month. So of course, a big part of that is rent, which is here, even though that was paid last month, that's for this month's expenses. The other big thing is on food. So I'll talk more about this later, but I've already spent almost $76 on food in the first week. Now, some of that food will last into this next week, but this feels pretty high to me. There's a few different reasons for that. So one, since I just moved to a newer area, I had to buy some of the new things to kind of stock up my cabinet. So spices and some other things that will last a lot longer than just this first week, but you're seeing a higher expense in the first week right now. So hopefully this expense will go down in future weeks. The other thing is I paid for health insurance this past week. So this comes out of my paycheck every 2 weeks, but it just dropped this past Friday. So that's another $66 out of my paycheck. In terms of miscellaneous things, I try not to spend too much, but I did just buy a bike rack for my bicycle. Since my grocery store is a little further away in this new apartment as compared to my last apartment, it'll be more convenient if I have a rack on the back of my bike so that I can transport groceries. So I just bought one of those. I didn't have one before, I probably should have, but that was another $28. And then the last thing is YouTube. So this is an expense that most people probably don't have, but it's one that I have. Last Friday, I bought Your Money or Your Life, which is a book that I really like. I want to do a book review for this channel, which is why I consider it a YouTube expense. And then the other thing is this expense might change in the next week, but I was looking at how much money my editor is going to cost this past week, and it's going to be around $22.50 for this week. So I'll have final numbers on this expense soon, but I wanted to make sure I'm accounting for it now. All total, again, we're at around $953 so far, and hopefully we'll make it. And the reason that I wanted to show this is that doing these challenges, I think, is actually a really good way to pay closer attention to your finances, because you want to track everything that you've spent so you can see whether you're going to reach your goal or not. But it feels more like a game rather than having to go through and sort of do an audit. An audit doesn't sound fun. A challenge sounds really fun. So these challenges are a really great way that I found to both motivate myself, and I've also tried to tie this in when I work with people to try to help them become more frugal and learn to actually enjoy saving money, because it feels more fun and it feels like an aspirational goal rather than feeling like you're cutting things out of your budget. But let me talk about some of the more saving strategies that I'm using this month to keep my expenses way lower and actually win this game. Hey, so a little behind the scenes, while I'm doing this challenge, I'm currently in the middle of filming a video on some of the meals that I prep and cook. So I'm actually creating a video right now, making some chili right now, got some vegetables ready when that's finished pressure cooking. So juggling a few things, but this is literally what I'm eating. When you see this video about food prep come out, which will probably be later, I don't know when it'll come out, but maybe in like a month or so. When you see that video, just know that these are literally the meals that I'm eating during this challenge, and it's how I keep my expenses super low. So at the end of the month, I'll figure out what I total spent on food, but I'm gonna try to keep it super low. Usually when I meet with people, like this is usually the first category. I'm like, that's where you can save more money, because it's usually not the biggest expense, but it's just so flexible, where so many people drop like Well, I mean, people drop a lot of money on eating out. It really varies, but I know people who spend $500 eating out every month. So that can almost all turn into easy savings if they're really looking for ways to save cash. So it's usually one of the first things I look at, just because it's so flexible and there's so many substitutes, which are like just as good, but can be way, way cheaper. And I really like doing food prep because, one, I really don't like cooking that much. I don't think I'm that good at it. I don't enjoy it. It takes a lot of time and I'm pretty busy. So one, it's just a huge time saver. Two, I don't mind eating the same thing every day. I mean, it's really not an issue for me. But three, really, really big thing. Oh, this just finished. But really big thing for me is if I come home from work and I don't have a meal, then I know that I'll be tired. I won't want to do anything else. So that's a really easy way to get tempted to then order out or stop at a restaurant or buy something that's more expensive that's already like pre-prepared. But if I do that work on the weekends when I have lots of time, then I know I can avoid that temptation. So this applies to a ton of things in life. If you're trying to save more money, put in the work when you have the time and energy to do it. Don't make yourself make a hard decision when you're tired and sort of in the moment. That's when it's easy to make that purchase that you wouldn't have otherwise if you put in that work beforehand. So basically, don't put off those hard decisions. Don't put your future self in a much tougher position. Just do the work, prepare yourself, set yourself up to save a bunch of money by putting in the work beforehand. I'm kind of rambling here, but hopefully that makes sense. Anyways, I gotta take care of this and finish this video. See you later. So one hiccup in this July's monthly challenge is that I'm now a little farther away from the rest of my family who lives in this area. And on Sundays, every now and then, not every Sunday, but sometimes I go down to see my grandfather, who's a little further away, now about 45 minutes away. Now, since I don't have a car, that means I'm going to Uber, and that might increase my expenses a little bit. Now, this isn't a huge deal. I mean, this is still way cheaper than actually owning a car, so I would much rather Uber every now and then than be driving everywhere and have a car that I don't really need, but it is going to increase my expenses. So to get there, it is about $35. It might be a little more coming back, so it is a decent chunk of change compared to my regular expenses. Still totally worth it. Want to see my family, want to hang out with my granddad, and this doesn't happen all of the time, maybe on a every month basis, but that is going to increase my expenses a little bit today. We'll see. I'll do the full number crunching later today, and we'll see how it shakes out. Okay, so I just got back from brunch with my grandfather, which is why I have a sticker, which is not coming off of my shirt. Actually worked out great because he had not seen my place yet since I just moved into this area. So he wanted to drive me back, which saved me an Uber ride. So that was pretty sweet. Very thankful for that. So I'm going to tabulate some of my other expenses, see what I spent the whole week. It wasn't a lot, so I think we're on pretty good shape, but want to run the numbers. I'll be talking about that in a second. Okay, so I want to show you the numbers for 2 weeks in. It's July 13th right now, kind of in the evening. And I want to show you the expenses for these last 2 weeks of July. So let me share my screen real quick. So right now we're at $1,100 of spending. I think we're still on track because when you take out that $750, and that really for rent, that really means that we have spent $350 in the first 2 weeks, and we still have $400 left over for the next 2 weeks. So I think we're okay, but it is pretty close. So I don't know, maybe I'll be giving $1,500 to charity. Worst things in the world. That would be okay. Today I went down to see my grandfather at his retirement home, so that was a $32 trip. Getting lucky that he wanted to come back and see my place anyways, so save some money on the return trip, but that's still $32 in the transportation category. All total, I mean, the way I think about this is even if I spend $50 a month on Uber, that's $600 a year. That's less than most people's car insurance payments, especially for like a 25-year-old single male. My car insurance payment would be more than that. So this still saves me a ton of money. I'd much rather just buy an Uber every now and then when I need it. And a lot of times I can get where I want to go with public transportation anyways. In terms of food, expenses went down a little bit. So still had $33 from last week and then $30 this week. So total expenses on food, $140 already. That expense might go down for the rest of the month. I don't expect to spend another $140 is what I'm saying. In terms of YouTube, my editor worked a few more hours. So I'm expecting that to be around $58. That again might change a little bit. I was working with one of my friends about a month ago, and I had them look through their expenses for the last month, and I had them mark every expense as, is this a necessity? Is this like definitely not a necessity? Or is it somewhere in between? And it was really interesting because their expenses were almost perfectly evenly split between those three categories. A third of their expenses were necessities, a third of them were not necessities, and then a third were like kind of somewhere in between. When you actually do this, you'll see that chances are you're spending money on things that you don't really need, and you'll find some easy ways to save more money that aren't going to feel like you're like depriving yourself. Instead, it's going to feel good that you're finding ways to save money. Saving money should feel good. Saving money should feel awesome and great. You're becoming richer. What's better than getting richer? That's awesome. That's exactly what you want. You don't want this feeling of, oh, I have to deprive myself. I have to stop spending money on this thing that I love. No. This is a way that you're finding ways to save money, get wealthier, reach your goals. This stuff should get you super psyched up. So anyways, we'll see where we're at next week, and I'll see y'all then. Okay, so today it is Thursday the 17th, I think. So about 3 weeks into the challenge, I've got to go grocery shopping what I hope is the last one. So this is my grocery store over here. It's called the Giant. It's a regional grocery store. And this is where this bike cage is going to become super useful, because after I get all my groceries, I'm going to put them all in there or in my backpack. It makes it way easier to transport groceries, because right here to my place, it's still around 2 miles, I think. This is much closer to work than it is my apartment. So have to transport this a while. Do not want to walk with all my groceries. That would be absolutely terrible. So this thing makes it possible. You can carry way more than you think on a bike. Makes it way easier. Again, fit the rest of my backpack. Shouldn't be too bad. Okay, so that went pretty well. That's a good sign. Hopefully on track. Now I just got to get back to my apartment without getting run over by a car or spilling all my groceries on the sidewalk. But let's go. So if it wasn't obvious already, a big reason I'm able to live on less than $1,500 a month is because I bike pretty much everywhere I go. Now, I'm not an avid cyclist. I don't really enjoy biking. I didn't actually learn how to bike until I was a little older. But even though I don't love biking, I do love saving money. So that's what I do. Everybody else that bikes to work that I've ever met, they're all avid cyclists. Me, I'm just an avid saver. But I don't think people realize just how powerful this strategy is. It actually saves you a ridiculous amount of money riding a bike. There's still tons of ways to save money, even if you have a car and have to have a car for some things. Because the cost of driving a car, a lot of times it's actually in the insurance, the maintenance, and the gasoline, just as much as it is the cost of a car. So if you actually look at the data on this, which I have, about 2/3 of the annual cost of having a car is actually in insurance, maintenance, gasoline, not the actual cost. Which means that the less you drive, that means less maintenance, less insurance, less gas, and you can still save a ton of money. So trying to live as close as possible to everywhere you go is still a super, super powerful saving strategy, even if you still need a car sometimes. So my total transportation costs last year were basically just a couple of Ubers, and I did take a couple plane trips, so that was the vast majority of it. But that's what cut my expenses to around $1,000 last year in terms of transportation costs. I think the average in the US, I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but I think it's about $9,000 just for a single person. For families, of course, it's way more. So if you can just walk or bike, just to a few places you commonly go. So the way I think about it is I have to go to work, I have to go to a grocery store, and I like going to the gym. Right now, for this month, the gym and work are the same place. So I really don't have to go 2 places, but just pick the places that you have to go on a very frequent basis. And if you can just walk or bike to 1 or 2 of those places, you can probably save a ton of money, sometimes literally thousands of dollars per year, just by doing that. There's a lot of families with 2 cars or even more who could just save so much money. They could have their transportation costs by going to 1 car. And even if that means carpooling to work or doing a little more coordination, it's just such a powerful saving strategy. So again, you do not have to be as extreme as me. Living no car in America is pretty rare, but wow, there's a lot of savings to be had. You just have to look for them. Okay, so it's Sunday the 20th right now. This is probably going to be my second to last update, because instead of doing an update next Sunday, I'll probably just wait until the end of the month. And this update will be pretty quick because I've made so few expenses this week. So right now, all total, we're at $1,175.55 for the total month spending. So again, when you take out the rent of that, that means I've spent, oh my gosh, doing math in my head, $425.55 over 3 weeks. So that's 78% of the total budget amount. We're pretty on track because I've bought so little. So this week, the only expenses I had is I had a quick run to the grocery store. That was $18 for a few ingredients for chili. Everything else I've already talked about throughout this month. No miscellaneous expenses. Insurance, this one's actually kind of interesting. So since this insurance payment on 7/5 was the last one for my last company, my insurance actually goes through the end of this month with this payment. So I didn't have to pay insurance again. My next insurance payment will be under my next company, which does monthly paychecks. And that will be for the next month. So we're all done there, which is great. Miscellaneous expenses are none. The only other thing is YouTube. I didn't realize that this was going to be kind of the make or break of the challenge. I thought it was going to be food, but YouTube, I spend about as much on YouTube as I do on food. So this week, paid for a thumbnail, and then again, estimated cost $38 for editing this week. So we'll see where this lands, but we've got about another 10 days. I do think I'll have to do another grocery run, but I think we're on track. Another absolutely beautiful morning where I am the only bike here. Maybe somebody else will show up later. It's still kind of early, but my hunch is that I'm the only one biking today because I think I'm the only one that likes saving money in this world or something. One of the reasons I expect to be able to live on less than $1,500 this month is because I'm taking a break from kickboxing right now, which is what I've been doing for the past couple of years. But since I just moved to this area, starting work at a new company, I wanted to take a month or two break. And kickboxing was actually one of my largest expenses last year. So this month, I am not spending all of that money, which last year averaged like $200 a month. I'm going to be saving all of that this month and just using my company gym, which is completely free. It's not a super nice gym, but it's free. And free is infinitely times better than spending more money. Health was literally my second biggest expense last year, right after rent. But to me, it's just one of those things I won't really compromise on, just because when I really think about it, I mean, I love money, don't get me wrong. I clearly love money, but money is a tool. And the whole point of having money is so that you can pursue the things you actually care about and live a life that you really want to live and that you enjoy. And it's really just impossible to enjoy life, I think, if you're not healthy. That's really just so core to everything else. And it's something that I can't just delay until I'm financially free and then get healthy. That's so much harder than being healthy now while I'm still young, still in my 20s, and maintaining that fitness. So it's something I do not want to give up and try and claw back later. It's such a mistake. And at the end of the day, even though it is more expensive right now, and I spend a lot of money on my fitness, I also do see that as an investment, because if I stay healthier, I'll have a lot less costs in the future. It's very hard to quantify that, but hopefully long-term, saves me a lot. Now, if you do have a gym membership and you actually use it, then that's totally fine. I pretty much never tell people that they should get rid of their gym membership because your health is just more important than that. That said, I really do think you can stay fit for very, very little. Again, this gym isn't the best gym in the world, but I don't really want to pay $200 a month for a really nice gym when I can get what I need for literally nothing. Now, most people don't pay $200 a month for their gym, but some people do. And if you don't have a gym membership at all, or you don't have a free gym at your office, you can still stay fit for pretty much nothing. And I've done this before too. For months at a time, I didn't have access to a gym. I just stayed fit at my own house. All I had was a yoga mat, kind of like one of these, and I had some dumbbells like over here, except I had some adjustable dumbbells, so I could do a lot of different exercises. And just that, less than $100 worth of equipment, you can do so many different exercises. You can absolutely stay fit. One of my favorites is also just running up some hills. Very good exercise. It doesn't take you that much time, and it works out pretty much every part of your body. So you can absolutely stay fit without spending a bunch of money. But again, your fitness is important. Do what you need to do to prioritize it. Just don't waste money on it. And I actually think there's a lot of similarities between working out and trying to save money. Because working out is one of these things that people are afraid to do. A lot of people don't have fun doing it, but they know it's really good for their health. They need to do it, and it will pay off in the long term. And it's the exact same thing with saving money, where people are afraid to do it. People think it won't be any fun. But again, it's so important to do it long term. It has such long term positive impacts on your life and on your health. But the thing that I'll say is also, just like fitness, you can learn to really, really enjoy it. If you build the right environment and you do the right things, you have the right accountability systems, it's possible to enjoy working out. Tons of people enjoy working out. It's where they go to hang out with all their friends and they feel good about the progress they're making. It's the exact same thing with saving money. You just have to have the right mindset, the right people supporting you, or whatever it is, the right motivations that help you stay on track and not just do it, force yourself to do it, but to actually learn to love to do it. Hey, so I just got back from work. It's around 5 p.m. on Monday, July 21st. So officially 3 weeks in. I just did the last update yesterday. But today I had to do one more grocery run and I wanted to show you what I got today. I was worried that I was going to spend a bunch of money for another big grocery haul, and I really didn't. So what I ended up getting is, I was running out of raisins, so I got a whole thing of raisins. I got a huge thing of peanut butter. Both those raisins and peanut butter probably will last me past the end of the month, but I'll count the expenses for this month. I'm gonna make one more thing of chili, so I got another huge thing of beans, got another can of crushed tomatoes. I also ran out of peanuts, so I bought this huge 3-pound thing of peanuts, another thing that will probably last me past the end of the month. Then I got a thing of celery. This and the peanut butter are one of my favorite snacks. I also put some raisins on top of it, so this is a go-to snack for me. And then I got a pepper and an onion for the chili. And then, because they were on sale, I got 4 of these sausages. They were like 2 for $5. I can mix those in with rice. I put one in the chili. I can mix it in the pasta. I can kind of do anything I want with those. So all of that, pretty big haul. And I have the receipt right here, kind of got crumpled up. That was $34.42 for everything. I'm pretty sure this will be my last haul. I really hope it is. I don't want to go back to the grocery store by the end of the month. So not bad. I think this month will be more expensive than other months. Still spending way less than most people. Hey, so it is 7:45 a.m. on Monday the 28th, and we're almost to the finish line. And my expenses have been pretty low this month, actually lower than I expected. But there's one big problem that we have to overcome, which is that this week the entire extended team for my team at Amazon is coming in, and we're probably going to do lots of like team building activities in the evenings, like going to dinner and getting drinks maybe. Also actually having to get there, like using Ubers. So it might be a really expensive week, and I really don't know if I have enough buffer for all of that. And of course this is going to happen the last 4 days of this challenge. So we'll see what happens. Hey, so it is 9 p.m. on, what's the light on? It's 9 p.m. on Tuesday, the 29th. So 2 more days of July. More importantly though, there's only 1 day left of this offsite that I'm having at work. So that means that I'm almost through. Now, things are going pretty well because yesterday, Monday, everybody was too tired to want to do anything after work. And then today, we did something after work, but we just went to a bowling alley, which is not that expensive. And since so many people are in here out of town, everybody just sort of carpooled. So I did not have to pay for Ubers there and back, which does make up expenses way more reasonable. So haven't spent a lot. I've not checked my numbers in like a week because I want to just check it when I'm done with the whole challenge and see where I'm at. But I think things are going through okay. Only 1 more day of the offsite. Hopefully we don't do something super expensive in the evening. And then Thursday's gonna be the last day. I think we're good. I shouldn't have to buy anything else for myself. Just got to get through any other activities that we might do. So things are going well. A couple more days. See you soon. Hey, so it is August 1st right now. It's Friday. Want to review all of my expenses for the past month and show you whether we hit the target or not. So right here, I've talked about the rent and the transportation. Food, I had to buy food a few times since we last talked. Now, some of this food will really be all for next month, especially this purchase of $38 on the 30th of July, but I'm still counting it because I want to count everything I spent in July just to be fair, and because I don't want to calculate how much of that $38 I used this month. So total expenses on food is a little higher than I thought it was going to be. $284 feels kind of high. I'll be really interested to see what this is at the end of the year when I average out all of my expenses. But that's why we do this challenge. It gives me a ton of visibility into what I'm actually spending. And that is where I need to spend less. Now moving on, miscellaneous expenses. This is where I put the team outing I did with my other coworkers earlier this week. So that came out to a little over $22. And then YouTube, things jumped up a little bit. So one, I have to pay for Calendly. Calendly is where I do all of my booking for my coaching calls through. So that was $10 for the month. And then a bigger editing purchase of $105 right at the end. So a little more than I was expecting for this month, but that's totally fine. But yeah, I didn't expect YouTube to be, it was actually very comparable to what I spent on groceries. That's becoming a bigger and bigger expense for me as I try and make more videos and try and make better videos for you all. But all total, what that means is that for the month of July, I only spent $1,440.12. So I came in under the target. Super happy about that. It was a little closer than I wanted it to be. And hey, one other thing I'm going to do is with this extra $60 that I didn't spend, I'm going to send that over to my YouTube editor. He's been putting in a ton of work, and I know this video especially is a lot to handle. So shout out to him. He's really helping improve this channel. So I'm super stoked that I beat the challenge, and let me tell you why that is such a big flipping deal. So the rule of thumb is that you need about 25 times your annual expenses in order to be financially free. I talk about this all the time in my videos, and it's why that living frugally, living beneath your means, is so important, because the less money you spend, the less money you need in retirement. And what that means is that if I could only spend $1,440 every single month, then I would only need $432,000 to be completely financially free. And that feels way more achievable than saving up the millions of dollars that most people would need to afford their much more expensive lifestyles. And now, in reality, I am not going to quit my job as soon as I have $432,000. For one, my expenses were a little lower this month than they probably will be in the future. That's because one, I didn't have any travel this month. So I don't travel every single month, but those are larger expenses. And when that averages out across the year, it would definitely increase my expenses on average. And the other thing is, right now, I'm not paying for an expensive gym membership, but I'll probably start up kickboxing soon again, and that will also increase my monthly expenses. Plus, I'll probably spend a little more money in retirement than I am right now. But the point is still the same, which is that if you need way less money, you need way less money to retire. And that can truly be, I'm not joking when I say that's truly the difference in potentially $1 million+ in order to be financially free. This stuff literally changes lives. That is a massive, massive deal. And it's the reason that I'll be able to retire decades faster than most people. But as motivated as I am to reach that big goal of financial freedom, it's also really important to reward yourself for completing a challenge like this. Because having a reward is a really big part of making it feel like you're having fun while you're saving money, rather than just forcing yourself and beating yourself up to save more money. Now, I've been struggling to come up with a good reward for myself literally this entire month, but then yesterday, my friend texted me and asked me if I want to get brunch with her tomorrow and gossip, so that is going to be my little treat to myself. But before I go and do that, I said at the start of this challenge that I would give $1,500 to charity if I didn't beat this challenge. And the thing is that even though I did beat this challenge, that money is still going to go to charity eventually. One of the big reasons that I plan to keep making money in retirement, and one of the big reasons I plan to keep living frugally even after I don't have to, is so that I can have even more money to give to charity. I'm a huge fan of the effective altruism movement, and once I am financially free, and then definitely at the end of my life, I plan to give pretty much everything away. So if you're bummed that I beat the challenge, don't be. That money is still going to go to charity. But now, let me take you to brunch with me. Hey, so just because the challenge is over does not mean that I'm going to not try and keep saving my money. So, I'm about to head in for brunch. I'm about to get my bicycle, and I've got a bike to the metro stop about 1 mile away. I could take an Uber, but Uber would be like $30. I'd rather just take public transit. So I'm going to take my bike to the metro stop, again, just 1 mile away, super easy. And then I conveniently suggested a restaurant that is walking distance to the metro stop. My friend also takes the metro, so it works out perfectly. So from there, it's like a super straight shot. and can't wait for this brunch. It is an absolutely gorgeous day. Got my bike parked at the metro station. Didn't even break a sweat because we've got such a nice little breeze going on. Now let's hop on the metro. Even on days like this one where the traffic is not super bad, I would still much rather take the metro just because I can write a YouTube video while I'm sitting there filming the city or do anything else. Either way, I don't have to pay attention to traffic and worry about an accident. Plus, it's way cheaper, so it's kind of a win-win-win. So I really don't know why more people don't do this. I know not every city has as good of public transportation as Washington, D.C. and the surrounding area, but it really is so convenient to have something like this. But honestly, when I moved out to this area, which is called Herndon, a lot of people told me, they were like, oh, well, you're going to have to buy a car then, now that you're moving to Herndon. But I haven't had to buy a car. It's still very bikeable. It still has pretty decent public transportation. So even out here way in Herndon, Virginia, I can still get everywhere I want, either with a bike or with public transportation. I can get all the way into Washington, D.C. on the metro in like maybe 40 minutes for like $6. Still super convenient. You can see the map here. Honestly, I think it's way easier than a lot of people think to at least drive way less. Maybe not go completely car-free, but you can drive way less and save a bunch of money just by using this system, and so many people don't. Hey, so I just got pretty close to the restaurant. Whole thing cost only $2.50, which is way less than I would pay for parking, plus other fees of driving down here. It's a wonderful day. I had a wonderful time. Got to pass by my old office building. Always going faster than some of the traffic at some points. Very pleasant time, and I got to write about half of one of my next YouTube videos. So, absolutely wonderful experience. I don't know why more people don't do it. And the thing I love about public transportation is I get to come down to an area like this, which is super beautiful and super nice, and I get to do all of that in just a few minutes. Now, I could live in an apartment building like this one, but I would probably be paying maybe about 4 times as much money for rent if I wanted to live in that building, is my guess. But I can get down here and enjoy everything else that they enjoy in like 20 minutes and for $2.50 riding on the metro. So, I don't know, doesn't really seem worth it to me. So that is a wrap. I just got back at the Herndon metro station, picked up my bike just where I left it. I had a wonderful time, enjoyed a delicious brunch with my friend, more importantly. Got to catch up with them, and hadn't seen them in a couple of months, so that was really nice. So I very highly recommend that you do a challenge like this, even if it's a much smaller challenge, much easier challenge, just because I know this is such a powerful technique to actually start to enjoy saving money. Challenges just make it fun. It makes it easy to track your expenses without feeling like a chore, and it can really just reprogram how you think about money and make it a fun challenge. It's a great time. So I hope this saves you a bunch of money, because I know it can. But as powerful as challenges are, and as much as I use them, they are definitely not the only technique to start to enjoy saving money. So if you'd like to see a bunch of other techniques that I actually use, either for myself or for clients, to start learning how to enjoy saving, then just click the video that's popping up on the screen right now, and I'll tell you some more ways that you can reprogram your mind to make saving money really